For months, I had a question that I could not find the answer to, no matter how deep into forums I started reading. And even when I picked up technical manuals, I couldn't find this answer. But I had a reasonable certainty in matching part numbers that it would work. But I had to purchase the items to find out myself. Now, the question I had is, how interchangeable is the main shaft of a Dodge NV4500 with a Chevy NV4500? And that was the question that I couldn't find the answer to. Now, this may not be something that you really care to know about, and that's fine. I don't expect a lot of people to be asking this question because I think most people that pick up an NV4500 want to get a Dodge transmission and put it behind a Cummins diesel. I don't think a lot of people are like me that want to do a small block, although there are small block builds out there, or even LS builds that go with the NV4500. I have seen them on YouTube. A lot of them are really cool builds, but I wanted to try to build a very compact setup. And so that led me to that question, how interchangeable are the components? Now, the Dodge transmission, or the Dodge version of the NV4500, is a little bit shorter, by about 2 1/4 inches, or it might even be 2 5/8. But it's shorter, and that 2 inches can be a big deal. A quick story on why it's a big deal is my vehicle that I'm building right now is a Mitsubishi Montero. When I bought it, it had independent suspension up in the front, and I did a 2-inch body lift because, well, that's what you do with Monteros. There's just not a lot of support for them. And when I really got into wheeling, I realized that I want to do a solid axle swap, so I cut out the independent suspension, put a solid axle in there, and it was such a tight fit for all my components that to really make it fit, I had to really do a big lift, and that meant redesigning the rear suspension, changing the drive shaft. So I tried to make it compact, and it was just not a good idea. And that 2.5-inch body lift, had I not put that in, could have saved me a huge amount of heartache out on the trail, because 2.5 inches is a big deal when it comes to going wheeling. I'm sure there's plenty of guys who would love to have 2 inches of travel. When you go from 33-inch to 35-inch tires, it's a total difference in the world of wheeling, but you've only gained really 1 inch. And if 1 inch is that big of a deal, just imagine how big 2 inches is, because that's why people go to 37s, or they want another 1.5 inches and they go to 40s, right? It's a big deal to get an extra 2 or 3 inches in height for a lift, or even for, you know, the wheel size. So obviously I made the mistake of not understanding how big of a deal 2 inches was, and I wasn't going to let that affect me when it came to my drivetrain. And so I picked up a Chevy NV4500 to put behind an LS engine, because if you're going to do a budget build, if you really want to save some money, an LS engine is the way to go. There are plenty of aftermarket support companies out there. There's plenty of go fast parts, and plenty of people have worked on them. There's tons of websites and people that just know a ton of information on them. They're cheap, they're easy to work on, and they're extremely simple. And that should be your goal when you build an off-road vehicle, is simplicity. And the NV4500 is the king of that. There's only one output of any kind, and it's for your reverse light. And when I say output, I mean like a plug. I don't mean like the drive shaft or the transfer case. I mean like an electrical connection, just one. There's no hoses to a cooler. If you get a cooler, you just take the PTO cover off and you slap it on. That's it. It's extremely simple, and you get 5 gears. You get a 5.61 first gear. What could be better than that? How about mating it up to an LS engine and using a Dodge tail housing to really keep that transmission tight and succinct? But I couldn't find the answer. Can I swap these main shafts? And if I can, what do I have to do to make that work? As you notice, this is the Chevy and this is the Dodge. And the Dodge is, well, it's shorter, right? But it's also got a different diameter in the back end. Now, when I first took this out, the first thing you do is you take out the input shaft. And I took the needle bearer and I said, wow, that fits. That's great, right? That's perfect. I know at least that much will work. Well, the next thing was to pull the 5th gear. And when I put that on, it didn't fit, and I was like, well, I had a +1, now I got a -1. Oh man. Well, let's keep going, because I did get a 5th gear just for this, because when you buy the main shaft, you want to make sure you buy an upgraded 5th gear main shaft, so that way you don't have to worry about losing 5th gear when you're going down the freeway. And I thought to myself, well, what else can I do to see if it'll fit? After I actually took the entire main shaft and all the gears out, I grabbed all the needle bearings, and here they are on the original main shaft from the Chevy, and guess what? They fit, and it's actually perfect how well they fit. So I was like, well, that's really good, and I'd be willing to bet that they also fit on the back, right? And yes, they do. See, they fit just fine, and that means you can use all the gears, at least 1 through 4. And then what I did is I grabbed the final bearing and race that goes into the rear section, and it fits as well. So if you are like me and you don't know if they are interchangeable and you can't find the answer on the forums, I just answered it. Yes, you can swap them, and you need 3 things to swap out the main shaft between a NV4500 that came out of a Chevy and the main shaft from a Dodge NV4500, and it is the tail housing, the main shaft, and 5th gear. That is it. They completely swap over after that. And what that means is, from what I saw as far as research, the NV4500s out of a Chevy are a little bit cheaper, but any money that you might gain, unless you get a smoking deal on one of these, you'll probably just spend it in buying the gears. So it's not a big loss, but what it is an LS engine and a very short, compact drivetrain. And I've kept along with that theme. And if you like the research that I provided today and you want to see how this build is going to continue to go, I do have on order a Shorty Behemoth drivetrain low box, a crawl box that will go with the Dana 300 that I have the 4-to-1 kit for. And if you're a really big nerd about gears like I am, then this thing is just going to crawl without a driver behind the wheel. You're just going to take the foot off the clutch, and it's going to climb up rocks. And that's really the goal that I had when I decided to go with the NV4500. And but I still want to be able to drive it on the street. So I've got 5th gear. I'll be able to cruise down the highway. My plan is to gear it, and I was convinced that I was going to do 40-inch tires. Now I'm kind of like up in the air about, do I really need 40-inch tires, or do I need 42s? Or should I just get 38s, 37s for the daily driver? But if all that sounds like a fun build to see, hit the like and subscribe button, and stick around. I think you're going to really enjoy what I have to build. And I plan on doing some more reviews of different things that I have that might help you as the DIY guy. So take care, keep wheeling, peace out.